This podcast is proudly part of the Paranormality Radio Network. Visit paranormalityradio.com to find binge-worthy podcasts dedicated to all things paranormal and creepy. From conspiracy to cryptid, you'll find it here. Hello, and welcome to I Have a Strange Story podcast. Hi, my name is Rebecca. I'm the co-host of the show, and this is episode number 85. So in this episode, Lindsay and I actually got to have an interview with an amazing woman named Basil, and she is the host of the Instagram page called boxofhaunteddolls. So you can probably imagine what this episode is about. This is basically Basil's story of creating a family, a spiritual family with her haunted dolls, how she got there, and she just has a message for people who would like to get into this. So stick around, take a listen to it. I think you're going to love it, and on with the show.
Oh, I'm Basil Falkenstein. That's my name, and I'm at Box of Haunted Dolls at Instagram. That's my name, and the only thing I want to promote is spiritual awareness and people that want to get to know more about what it is that I'm involved with. Is with if you want to be more aware of, haunted vessels, haunted dolls, is that you really need to know that you need to respect spirits. And as I said, it's not, people want to show you their haunted collection. It's not a collection, it's a family. And it's really about respect for the spirits. It's, you can't be in this about, pardon my pun, but possessing the spirits. You have to be of the heart of wanting to help, wanting to work with them. That's what it's all about. That's really what it's all about. And you have to really have, you have to, a lot of people that I've seen are, there's this big thing with the whole Annabelle, the doll thing, especially since it exploded with the Conjuring movies. It's like, oh, let's go buy haunted dolls. Everybody is all over eBay and all over, all these sites, and they are just buying up these haunted dolls, and, on Etsy. There's haunted, and I'm not saying that they're not reputable, because there's a lot of people that are reputable that have absolutely wonderful places, and I've gotten from them. But it's just that they are just, a lot of them are kids, and they're just trying to, a lot of the sellers are putting, you must be 18, because the kids just want to mess with these spirits and think that it's just a game. It's not a game. And when you just bust out a Ouija board and think, well, let's just see what will happen if we, get this doll Jane and buy it off eBay or an Etsy dealer and put out our Ouija board and see what happens. Well, if you don't have the good intent in your heart, the spirit knows that. The spirit really knows that. And it's going to backfire on you. And it's not going to be a good thing. Mm-hmm. And things will happen in your home. Things will happen around you. And it's not going to be something that's going to be good. And that's when you get all of these kids that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I got myself into. Now I need this thing out of my house. Mm-hmm. Well, then that's when the poor spirit suffers. And they probably were a good spirit to begin with. But then they turn, sour towards the individual. And that's when they think they're bad because of what they did to it. So now, what do they want to do? They just want to hurt the vessel, so, and it's a cycle, and then we get people that want to just buy the dolls that have no knowledge of, what's going on. And a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people that don't understand. And it's just, I want to really educate people, and I really want to let them know that you have to be careful. You have to be careful. And there's a lot of, you'll see there's different levels of vessels. There are beginner, and they'll have their little bios with them, like, Susie is for a beginner person. John is a very highly active, and those are for your, you don't want to be messing with that if you're starting and your first haunted doll. You don't want to mess with that. And then, the ones that, they'll put there and they'll be like, well, this is a nasty spirit in, like, possibly by a dark entity. Well, obviously, if you're some people that are like, oh, well, I can deal with that, and some will be kids, and they'll be like, oh, let's get this going, and they'll get them, they'll have them in their house, and then all hell breaks loose, literally. Mm. And, I've known of a couple people have done that, and it's just like, I've been in the middle of it, and I've tried to help them.
Oh my gosh.
That really went south. So I've gotten calls in the middle of the night, honest to God, and I've got, please help us, we've got this going on, we need your help. Yeah, so don't do that.
That's excellent advice.
There are people that are actually, that are on, there are some Etsy sellers that are absolutely excellent shop owners that are there to help you and that know what they're doing. They're absolutely awesome. And they will only sell to 18 and over, and they're awesome. I just can't. So,
yeah.
But, and my first haunted doll was I think it was about 2-3 years ago. And it was not something, the lady just handed this doll to me. She says, do you like dolls? I said, I love dolls. And she said, well, here, just take these. And then she says, this one especially creeps me out. And I just laughed at her. I thought she was nuts. She looked like a gypsy lady, and I laughed about it. And I put her in the back of my car. And then I just had started getting into the whole, haunted doll thing. I thought it was interesting. So then I put her in my room, and then about 2 weeks later, I kind of revisited it, and I pulled her out. And I am really spiritual, so I always have holy water. And I took her out, and then I had my spirit box on. And I was blessing all of my dolls with the holy water. And this doll, the one that was the one the lady didn't like, the spirit box says, burn head. And the spirit box, you could hear a growl.
Oh.
And it was when I put the holy water on the head. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. And I'm just like, oh, you did not just do that. And I just put the doll back in I didn't know, I'm like, this is about out of time. I didn't know a lot about this kind of, about the haunted whole doll, so I put it back in my room with the other dolls, and I'm like, So then, a week later, I get in a heated argument with my husband. And it was crazy. And I'm like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, what? And something took over me. And then I start speaking in Latin. And I'm just like, something took over me. And then I'm like, I'm going to down these pills. And I had like a bottle of Tylenol in my hand, and I just tried to start downing them. He calls 911. Something had a hold of me. It was that doll. That doll had possessed me. that one that I had from that lady.
That is frightening.
I was possessed, and I'm not kidding. The first haunted doll I ever had possessed me.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
we had to call 911. They had to strap me. Now, this is weird. There was some kind of semblance in me that I knew. Something in me that I knew. I took that doll. I threw it in the garbage before they got a hold of me and strapped me to a gurney. I'm not joking. And they got me into the, they got me into the ambulance. And I was not myself. I was some kind of mad woman out of control because I would never do nothing to myself or nobody else. So I threw that doll in the trash. It was Saturday. Next day was Sunday when here the trash runs. Well, they had me on suicide watch in the hospital for 24 hours. And I was okay. The next day I was okay. The trash truck came and got it.
Wow.
The next day I came home, everything was okay. And then I saged my house and all that was out. But I got rid of the other dolls that was with it.
Mm-hmm.
First haunted doll turned out to be a demon.
How did you go on after that? Like, how did you still wanted to pursue this, you still wanted to pursue helping haunted dolls?
Yeah, and it's funny because the other one after that I bought from a place that I won't say because I don't want their business to go down. It turned out to be it was a man. It was an old man, and he was like demonic, but he was a human spirit, and he was in this old doll, and it was the ugliest mother. I'll tell you, it was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. But I wanted to help. As an empath, you just constantly want to help. You think that you can fix everything. So I got this doll, and I'm just like, oh, you're so ugly, you're cute, but I want to fix you. Mm-hmm. So I got it, and they were just starting out, and I'm like, oh, I can fix you. And my friend who's a witch, she's like, oh my God, girl, you got to get that thing out of your house. You gotta set that thing on fire. And it was oppressing me. It started oppressing me. And then the next to that is possession. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I started feeling depressed. I started feeling all that yuck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And so I had to take care of it. I had to do what I had to do. But I did not want to because I wanted so bad to try to save that poor spirit. Mm-hmm. But he was evil.
Yeah.
Himself was evil, and the owners even told me, they're like, listen, our kids see this old man and they are scared to death. They see the man appear by this vessel and they are scared to death. I'm like, oh, I can help him. Oh, I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. This was when and I'm just like, oh, I can help him. Yeah. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know. I gave him a big hug, and I'm like, oh, you're my best friend. But my friend that was a witch, she's like, oh, no. She's like, I can see him. She goes, you have to get that thing out of your house, girl.
Is there anything that anybody can do for a doll like that or for a spirit like that? Is there any release or, anything that you can do, or is it ultimately just you can't do anything for them at all?
You can try to burn Palo Santos, and that is like sage, or you can burn sage. Mm-hmm. And you can ask them if they want to go into the light. You can ask them, but I'll tell you what, that particular spirit was not. He was probably the nastiest thing I've ever dealt with, other than what happened to me. Mm-hmm. Just that was a full-on demon. This one was just a very extreme dark entity that was a person, like a human being. That I've never experienced anything that was a human being. Mm-hmm. That was a dark, you know what I mean? But all you can do is, you know, put on your spiritual regalia, like your cross. Even someone lady told me, put some sage in your bra. Not put some sage leaves in your bra, put your cross on, get some holy water, go outside and just pray for that soul. And you ask them, you know, if you want to cross over, and you can pray for them. If not, then she told me that the last resort is to light the thing up and put some holy water on it, light it up, and burn it.
Wow.
If it's evil, and if it is a demon, that's what you do.
Okay.
I don't like to resort to that because I love my spirit family and I love my spirits here. But if something is in your home, or is something like that is indeed demonic, you don't have that, you know what I mean? You have to do a cleansing. You pull out whatever you have to, all the stops. And if someone was like, oh, why didn't you just sell it? Why didn't you just sell it? And if they're like, you know, well, you know what? You can't say that to somebody if you've got something like that in your house, and you just, you know, it's just like having hell in your house. You know, are you going to keep that and wait for someone to buy it? And why would you want to sell somebody that?
Right.
You can't give that to somebody like a big ball of fire of hell, and you can't do that.
Right.
So I wouldn't you just destroy it the best you can, get rid of it and move on, and then cleanse your so to me it's just like, here you go, and then hopefully that person doesn't blow up their house.
Right.
And people that actually collect or want those kinds of things, but I don't promote that. I don't promote that at all. So if those kinds of things come through, then you just have to take care of it accordingly.
Right.
But you just hope that you get those good spirit friends, and thank goodness that I have some good ones.
Yeah. So what's your preferred method of communicating?
It's really funny because a lot of the spirits have different ways they like to communicate. You have to ask them. I have a spirit that loves to she goes through automatic writing. Spirit that loves to speak to me telepathically. She's a witch. She's probably my favorite spirit here. Her name is Sarah the Witch, and she is on my page. And she talks to me all the time. She's very vocal. And believe it or not, I know it might be silly, but some of the apps on the phone actually do work. And some of them like to use apps on the phone, but the pendulum is probably one of the best tools you have. And that's what I rely on a lot. But Ouija boards, even though they might be for some people, they're not for me, because they take about a good hour to warm up. And then you're only getting bits of pieces, what they really are trying to tell you. And then you're opening up a whole gateway. But you're opening a gateway up no matter what you're trying to do to communicate. So another thing that you need to do before, you communicate it all is you need to say a protection prayer. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get, whether it's an app on your phone or you're using a pendulum or lighting a candle, you need to say a protection prayer.
Okay.
To like your guardian angel, or whether it's a higher power. That's the thing to do. And a lot of people are like, well, why do I have all this residual energy in my house? Or, why do I feel like I'm full of all this yuck all the time? Well, it's probably because of the residual energy you have from communication that you have. Like if you're feeling depressed or anxious, that can be a lot of residual energy from communication if you don't do proper, it's kind of like spirit warfare almost,
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta like cross all your T's and dot your I's.
Yeah.
That's important. So as much as it is great to talk to your friends and all that, you have to make sure that you're protecting yourself too.
Gotcha. Do you ever have to, this is Lindsay, is there like, especially with the dolls that may be possessed by demons, that you talked about burning the dolls to help, get rid of, putting holy water and then burning them. Does anybody ever to call in a priest or anything to banish the demons from dolls?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a friend, and her house is haunted. Her house is haunted. I found that she has literally a portal to hell in her house. Her house is from 1920. But now, this is the thing, and this is so funny because my husband said to me, he said, now, you hear about all these houses that are old, and then you hear about brand new places that doesn't, because of a place that is brand new, it means it couldn't be haunted. And he's absolutely right. But places that are old, all you hear about is people interested in all these old places because they're haunted. But brand new places can be haunted too. Anything can be haunted, to be honest with you. It just depends on what wants to attach itself. But I have a friend that has a house from 1920. She has a portal to hell in her underneath her basement, and it is attached to this room in her basement, and she's got a demon there, and the demon will not leave. And I'll tell you, this is what I'm getting to. I told her, I said, you need to call a priest. I found the demon in her home, and I said, honey, there were all these shadow beings in her house that were tormenting her and her daughter and her son, and they weren't going anywhere. And I said, you need to call a priest. And she says, well, bad juju coming from her house. They literally will not come and help her because of all of the bad stuff coming out of her house. But when it's that bad and the priest won't come, then it's bad. But that was my first thing to tell her, was that you need to call a priest. If you can do it, I do not recommend. My first thing is, the only reason I did it myself was because I had everything here and I knew what, to do. But I do not recommend that you go ahead and take things into your own hands. But the thing that I had everything, in that I had the support and I had everything backing me up, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That the spiritual support, but I highly recommend calling a professional. Just like if you weren't a doctor, you know what I mean? You wouldn't go, exactly. You need to call a professional. And that is, you need to call a priest. They know what they're doing. They know exactly how the ceremony is performed in the way it needs to be done. So my first recommendation would to be call a priest. And that's what I told my friend. And yet she had a lady that was a Native American lady came out to her house because that was the only one that could help her, because the Catholic Church wouldn't come out to help her. But the lady did her best to try to seal the portal, and it's still the problem because the Catholic Church won't come out to help her, and they are scared to death of her home. Yet the demon's still there, and she doesn't have the money to move out.
That's unfortunate.
Yes, and I won't leave, because I don't really think that, if you're a friend of somebody, and I'm not saying that, if they're, not like, if your friend's possessed or something, you should just, but if they're in a turmoil or something, that you should just take off. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
it's just a situation that she can't help. It's not her fault, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something that I wish that I could be there and do more about to help her. But yeah, that is a very good question. And I think that, thank you for asking. But yes, you should definitely seek out a priest.
Right.
Oh, I feel really bad for her. That's especially if the people that are supposed to help her can't even or won't even come out because they're afraid. It's she's put in a very tough spot.
Very touchy subject. And there was something that she had some spirit dolls in her house too. And I said, okay, you need to get rid of those. And you need to, because what she was doing was she was opening things up more by speaking to things and opening up the spiritual realm more by using tools in your home. And I said, you need to stop talking to it and you need to seal things up. And it was just dangerous. And by acknowledging things more, it was opening up things worse. And so she listened, and then that calmed things down. But it's just like, well, you really need the people of the Catholic Church. You need men of the cloth to come in and do the things the correct way. Because, and unfortunately, that's really sad when people can't come in and help you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But so. But anyway.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
No, anyway, that was just an example that I could give you about that.
So you've mentioned a couple of pretty frightening experiences that you have had. What are some of the nice ones that you get to experience?
Oh, like the really nice ones are the childlike spirits that are fun, the little ones. I really enjoy having the little ones around. And that's when, when you feel something like a little touch on your arm, or just you hear little footsteps. It was so sweet the other night. I heard little footsteps running in my living room, and I'm just like, oh boy, that just makes you smile. Sweet things like that,
Yeah.
That's something. And there was a white mist in my hallway the other night, and it was something that I haven't seen personally, but it was something sweet. It wasn't like something terrifying, and it was just around some of my spirit dolls, and it was like, wow, you're doing this and you want me to see it. I was just standing there, and I was just in awe of it. And it was just like, wow, you guys really want me to see this. And it was just like, thank you for, for letting me see that and making me aware that you're here. And it was just like, that's really cool, and it's important that you show them gratitude and that you say thank you all the time, even after you ask them a question. Thank you. And a friend of mine had just shown me something that I've never seen before. She gives them like food offerings, and I thought that was really neat. I mean, why not? Just little things like a little thing a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, well, yeah, they're your family, they're your little friends. So I do that. And she's really actually taking my teaching to a whole new level. So then I'm just like, well, and I leave them little gifts too, because they're like your kids. So, but yeah, the little sweet things like that. And when they'll tell you something new about themselves that you didn't know. That's the coolest. And you'll have them for a little while, and then you learn something new. or they'll touch something different, or they'll move something, and it's like, thank you. It's kind of like a eureka moment, and it's like, wow, that was special. Thank you. That it's really neat. Yeah.
That is very sweet.
Yeah.
I think what's cool, sorry, this is Lindsay.
That's okay.
Recently I've been watching a lot of videos on people trying to contact spirits. And what I noticed is that it's a lot of people who are amateurs, and they'll say things to the spirit like, please show yourself. And then if they do show themselves, or if they hear something, the people like scream and they run. And all I thought was how frustrating it must be for that spirit, because the people even coax them and say, it's okay, we won't hurt you, or we want to help. And then, they run off. And hearing your approach to it, like you talking about hearing the footsteps and thinking it's cute, I would hear the footsteps and I wouldn't think it was cute. And so that would tell me I shouldn't be messing with that stuff, right? I shouldn't be welcoming that or trying to help. But it sounds like it just, I think that it just supports my thoughts of like how frustrating it must be for a spirit whenever that happens. And do you think that maybe when this continuously happens to spirits, maybe it makes them angry, and maybe they start doing things out of anger towards people? Do you think that can happen?
It's funny you say that, because it kind of all goes back to that, when someone pulls a Ouija board out and then asks a spirit, when, like you say, and I said when amateurs, like kids, will pull out a Ouija board out and say, tell me this or tell me that, and, we want you to do something. Or a kid buys off of eBay or something, like a haunted doll, and just wants to play around with it. It's kind of like that. It's just like, yeah, show yourself. And then they'll try to really reach out. I can see that happening, and I do see that happening. And it really, I can see that, that they would get their feelings hurt, because they're actually really trying to make a connection, and that it could really piss some spirits off. And I'm not lying. I can tell you that for sure, because they really are going to an effort to make a connection, and some don't know that you're scared, because they really think by you purchasing that or not, they don't think of it as a purchase. It's a bond. It's a contract. That's exactly what it is. When you go and you say you want them, that is a contract. That's a contract with that spirit. And that is your bond. So when you go and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go get Susie, that's your contract with them. So then when that person who is an amateur goes and just sets it there and just leaves them there, they feel abandoned. And then they're like, oh, let's go play with it. And let's see show yourself. And then they're just like, okay. And they do. And then it's just like, wait, you ran away? It's like, why did you do that? Yeah. It's like, well, what the hell, They can totally, of course they do. Absolutely. That's just like, being prodded, and then just being like a science project or something. And then just feeling like, well, why did I let myself, feel that way? But I can absolutely see that way. You know what I mean? And then them letting themselves be vulnerable. And then, absolutely. But they have, of course, they were people too. They were people too. They have the energy because they were that person, and they are a spirit. I mean, they think about it this way. I mean, think about one of us being in a doll, and then someone trying to reach out to us, and then it's some silly kid, and then we get the nerve to show ourselves, and then they don't want to talk to us anymore.
Yeah. It's sad.
You let down, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone wants to talk to you, and you get all excited about someone seeing you for the first time and having a friend, and then all of a sudden they just take off, and they're just like, well, screw that.
Yeah.
You would feel pretty awful. you got to think of it like that, so more so that's why I'm trying, I really want to educate people. It's just like, gosh, it's a bond. It's not just a toy. These aren't even like dolls are, you know what I mean? But that's one of the things why, one of the reasons why that spirits connect themselves so often to dolls is because they're human looking, and that's what they see. So, yeah, but yeah, that does happen. I could definitely see that happening. That's why we got to make everyone more aware.
Yeah.
It's just a bummer.
That is a nice way to put it, is that it's a bummer. I don't know where I was going with this question. I think that you already answered it. So what are some of the things that you do to kind of enrich their I guess I want to say life. I don't know if that's the correct term. Probably not. Just to enrich the time that they have with you. You like to leave them little offerings. You visit them. Is this a type of relationship where you talk to them every day, you're constantly having communication, or is it something different?
Oh no, it's like it's every day. You go by and you say hello, and you just visit with them and give them their offerings, and then it's like I don't care if people think that I'm nuts. I'll even take one outside and go for a walk, and there's like people are like, oh, there's a crazy doll lady. People can think what they want to think. I have friends now in the community, and that they'll take a porcelain doll outside and go for a walk too. And people must think they're insane. But again, we're busting more out in the community every day, and it's just like with our spirit buddies, and people just can think what they think. But honestly, one of the things I say on my page is that mankind leaves more to be desired, because just the nastiness and the hate out in the world. So it's just like we'd be more, it's like we feel more safe with our friends here. So if we wanna take our friends outside, or if we want to talk to them in here, that's our prerogative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the world could be a lot kinder, and I think that humans could just be more open and more understanding, and not try to break somebody down just because in their eyes they're different or unusual or strange. I just feel like we should embrace people like you, and embrace people that have had experiences, because the worst thing that you can do, in my opinion, is look down on them or be mean to them or belittle them, because of something that they've gone through or the type of person that they are. We should all just strive to be kinder, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you. And I think the worst thing in the world is just to be mean.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think just to, and it's just like being mean to a person is like being nasty to a spirit. So, if we could be kinder to all of our own human beings, and it's just like the same way to treat spirits too. All of it goes together.
Yeah.
You can't expect somebody that, like, you can't say, hey, show yourself, and just be like, oh,
Yeah, and then run away and leave them.
People just like are like, well, it's not a parlor trick. They're not parlor tricks. They're not. They're spirits. They have, there's feeling behind that. You can't do that, and that's one of the harder things that I've come to realize is that even with that other presence that I had here, when I was trying so hard to be his friend, and it was really hard for me when I had to let him go because I really was trying so hard to just embrace him and wanting to hold on to him and love him so hard because I have so much love to give. And my friend told me, she's like, oh, honey, she's like, and even that I know, and I am an empath and I know, she's like, well, you can't fix him because he's bad, but I tried so hard. And he wanted to overtake me. And it's like sometimes I don't see, I try to overlook it, and I just try to love so hard that I just want to love the bad out of people, but just that, I couldn't help him, and I just felt like, and he was trying to change me so he could just get me to get angry and get, to be taken over. But I couldn't let that happen. Yeah. In the ultimate ending, I couldn't let that happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, you
can't take me down with you, pal, so that was tough. That was really tough. That was tough love.
Yeah.
So I haven't spoken about that in a long time. So
yeah, I feel like that's a traumatic experience on many levels. That's not something, I think that's not something that people can understand for the most part. And I think that a lot of paranormal experiences, at least some of them that we've heard, can be like traumatic experiences, and they can leave you, feeling a little bit of PTSD or anxiety. So I'm really impressed that you have continued to do this. I think that it's amazing that you continue to want to help spirits, and you have a lot of love to give, and I think that's very commendable and impressive.
Oh, it's the drive. I think it's the drive to want to just know and to be there. And it's funny because I have the box of haunted dolls. That's what the Instagram is that it's funny because I purchased a box of haunted dolls from this lady from Mark Hari. It's kind of like eBay, but it's a weirder one. And she said she wanted to get a box of haunted dolls out of her house, and I'm like, okay. So I took them out, and well, guess what? One of them turned out to be demonic. So we had to deal with that again.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? She didn't know it. Honest, she didn't know it. And she just knew that she had shadow people in her house and like people talking. She heard voices in her house. She's like, I got these from my great aunt. I need them out of my house. I don't know what's what. So I'm like, okay, I'll just take them because I was trying to help her. Honestly, I was trying to help her and she needed help. So I bought them for like a cheaper price because she wanted them out. So I took them in, and then it turned out, so there was this doll, and we called her No Eyes because she had eyes when she had her, and when she packed her in double wrap. She was completely packed, and she had her eyes when she packed her. So I looked in the box, and her eyes were not in the box. This doll came, and she had no eyes.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I just about pants when I looked at this doll, and I'm just like, I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, I've never seen a doll like this in my life. I mean, I've seen them on like people make doll art like this, but I've never had a doll that looked like this. And I said to my friend that was a psychic, I'm like, what's going on? I said, this doll makes me very uncomfortable. She's like, girl, that doll's demonic. And I'm like, holy crap. I said, this doll needs to get out. And I had a dream. The lady that gave me the doll said, well, put the doll by you and have her sleep by you one night. That was the biggest mistake I made, because I had a dream about a serpent lady, a snake lady talking to me.
Oh.
And that, you know, snakes are really bad juju because they're a sign of, you know, demons and stuff. So then I told that to my psychic friend, and she's like, yeah, you need to get that doll out of your house, mail her to me, and I'll burn it for you. This one needed a special burning because it was really, really bad. So I shipped her off to my friend, and she had to do a special ceremony.
Wow.
So that's what the box of haunted dolls was. That's why my Facebook, or I'm sorry, my Instagram is named that. And that's where she came from. So you see this whole thing with No Eyes, the doll, that was her. And you'll see like the pictures on there. And when my husband saw her, he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm like, no. I'm like, the lady didn't take her eyes out either. I thought she did it as a joke, like, ha ha ha, it's haunted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe she did it as a joke, like, oh, look, it's a haunted doll. No, she didn't do it. And the doll's eyes were not in the box. The doll's eyes were in when she wrapped it. And I was just like, oh no. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was just like, this thing cannot be in my house. So I had to do like a double cleansing in my house. I had to like, and the funny thing is when I had to pack that thing before I was running out of packaging tape. I was running out of holy water. It was a nightmare. It's like, I need to get you out of my house and I want you gone. It was just a nightmare.
I'm glad that you don't have to deal with that anymore. I guess you can never tell generally what you're going to get, especially in this type of situation. Is there residual energy even after the doll left?
There was, and I had to do another cleansing on top of that. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you asked that. You really give great questions. I had to do another cleansing around after that one. So my friend that is Sarah the witch that came with her, she actually told me, oh, you need to go around and do another cleansing. She was the best one in the bunch. She actually came with them. She's my little sweetheart. She came from them, and she told me, she's like, darkness, and then I got a black feather in my yard, which is a sign of that your psychic defenses are up and that your angels are working double time. So that let me know that I needed to do another cleansing after that. So she was right.
I think I really like Sarah the witch a lot.
She is wonderful. And she'll tell you who's talking behind your back.
Oh, wow.
Oh, she will. She's something else. She tells me I have a doll that's Becky, and she's the little girl with she's 28. She's the girl with the red hair and the little wicker hat, and she's a gossip, and she likes to say things.
Oh, Becky.
Oh, yeah, Becky. Oh, yeah, you mean she's a southern girl, and she likes to talk behind your back. So, but she's a goofball. And then I just got another reading from a friend about a girl that was from drive-by shooting. So that's another interesting one. She's one of the 5. So, but it's funny because what the lady did not know was that she was from New York, and I didn't tell her anything, and she was spot on.
Wow.
It was like I wanted to see my friend if she knew, but she knew, and she was from New York, and she was right.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was something else, and she knew right away.
So do you know how old these spirits are? I guess whenever I think haunted dolls, and probably the majority of the people who research these things, like, I just assume that these are old spirits, but is that the case?
No, There's some that are young kids. That are young kids, and I have a little boy that's 10 years old. I have had little girls that are 6. Oh yeah, I even had I have had a newborn baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have my house is 1920, and I actually had a baby die in this house. It wasn't mine, but before I moved in this house, there was a child that passed away, and there's residual here.
Mm-hmm.
There's residual here in this house. Yeah, and there was a lady that was shot in this house too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and not only with the haunted and the spirit dolls, but there was a lot of residuals in this house. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of stuff that happened in this house too. So,
do you think that you being an empath maybe drew you to this house or to this to wanting to help haunted dolls?
It's funny you say that, because it's almost like I knew something was going on here. And when I looked in the closets especially, I knew what was, there was something going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that's true. I really think that could be true. Because when we came and looked at the place, there was an intenseness about it. Mm-hmm. There really was. I never thought, it's funny because when I walked in the door the first time when we came here, I never thought I would have like a setup like this. That's so funny.
It was kind of your destiny is what it sounds like.
Yeah. That's really funny. It's funny. But it's just like it was meant, and it was just like this place was meant for that.
Yeah.
And the house knew that too. That's a great question.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this, for opening up your world to us and sharing your experiences, and also, trying to get the message out about how to care for these spirits and how to be respectful and grateful. So I really, really, really appreciate you coming on. Do you have anything else that you would like to share before we wrap this up?
Just be kind to everyone, and always take nothing for granted. Be glad that you're here every day that you can be, and always love your fur babies. Always love your fur babies. Thank you so much for having me, ladies.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Once again, we would like to thank Basil for coming on the show and sharing your experiences. We had such a great time, and afterwards, it sounds like Basil has a lot of really cool and interesting things to talk about, and we would love to have you back anytime. If you'd like to get a hold of her or check out her Instagram page, it is called Box of Haunted Dolls. It's very cool. She updates it quite often, and very informative, and we just want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And if you would like for us to share your stories, you can send them to ihaveastrangestorypodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe, rate, and review us, and I think that's it. I'm not used to doing these by myself, you guys, but here we are. And until next time, bye.